it seems probably has felt like we're dogging on you, Parker. But again, I think it's just constructive criticism, and we want to, as I keep bringing back, we want to be very honest and authentic and open with our viewers and listeners. But on a good note, Jeff, has there been anything you've been impressed this week with Parker?
No.
That face.
Welcome back to another episode of When I Grow Up.
Like I told you before, when I pulled you guys both over to my house and I ripped your asses apart.
You've gotten nicer over the episodes, I feel like.
Nate, you have a tendency of telling me what I want to hear, right?
Sure.
You're really good at telling me.
I'm a people person. I like to make people happy.
Yeah, well, you know what pisses me off? When somebody tells me what they think I want to hear.
Well, yeah.
And then they're wrong.
If you ask me, am I
The sunglasses inside?
Do I think he's ready to go? The answer is absolutely not.
Seeing how you actually treat people and talk to people. You're not just a mean boss. I would work for your crew. I think you've earned a lot of respect from guys like Nate and Jeff and Tyler.
What were you thinking?
Shouldn't have said that.
Nah, you shouldn't have.
What did he say?
What?
He said he would work for your crew.
We should.
I got a challenge. I got a challenge right now.
What's that?
I want Joey to come work on your crew for a day.
We are here. He's job site where I, the host of the show, am going to be learning from hopefully the best. We know Wink's here. We know Parker's here.
Funny, I showed up 2 minutes late to this job, and I live 2 minutes away from
back
this
there
job.
right now. Apparently I'm late.
Starting time 7:30.
I'm late. Harsh bosses at TSR here.
Prop it up like this.
This is the machine here that Jeff thought I couldn't get down the trailer. As you'll see in some video footage, I got it down, no problem. Parker might be looking at a replacement. I was just hand grinding these edges right here. You want to show them, Dave? And Parker told me that I'm the first person he's seen not butcher it in their first time doing it, so you might.
He left big scratches.
Yeah, I was like digging in.
A better hand grinder than Cap, but Cap also doesn't touch one, so.
Yep. Half and half.
Good math there.
I did go to college.
You were homeschooled as well.
Don't tell him that.
Hold on here. We want to redo this all? Freaking messed that all up.
So Jeff asked me to come out here today. Keep an eye on Parker. He's right over here if you want to show him. And he basically wanted me to make sure that he's not wasting the company's money. And I can tell you firsthand that he's not, because he made me show up here at 2:30 a.m.
Late. Starting time 7:30.
No breaks. No water. No snacks. And practically, he's a slave driver, so he's not wasting money. That's for sure, but he might be hurting morale and hurting my feelings. So we'll see how the rest of the day goes. All right.
I'd like to change the topic for just a second. As we talked about a lot in the last show, we were talking mostly
Kevin
about
Johnson,
Parker's
right?
decision for leaving college. I noticed that you're wearing.
Shout out, Kevin. Thanks for being on the show.
Whitewater hoodie today. Has anything changed that we may not know about?
So I was hoping you'd save this till the end, Joey, but yeah, I'll be going back to college.
Everybody wants to hear what went through your guys' mind when Parker initially decided to drop out of school to, basically coat concrete.
He came home and said, "Hey, I got this opportunity. Jeff asked me to do this." And then I was like, "No, you are absolutely not quitting college."
If you guys
Proceeds to quit college.
just leave us a comment. Drop a comment, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you so much for watching. We're going to go grab some lunch, and we will be right back.
Probably the coolest montage I'll ever be included in my life, Joey.
There's Cap. Man, you guys look so good in slow motion.
Yeah. Somebody that doesn't even really know you. And people like in general, not just one person in specifically, but people in general that don't know you, they have opinions about you.
They do.
Based on other people's opinions. Today, we've got a special episode for you. For a portion of the show, we will be hearing from a real person that actually dropped out.
Featuring DJ Dave.
How has Champion not sponsored you yet?
And we'll be finding out
I don't know, but
is now, where they
I find good deals. I find good deals.
And if it was the right move or the wrong move to drop out of school. Welcome to the show for the first time officially. Can I get a drum roll? And welcome back to another episode of When I Grow Up. So Parker, we've been waiting this entire 54-minute episode to find out where you are choosing to go. We now know for sure that you are going somewhere.
Nope.
Yeah, nope.
That's where we differ on that.
Do we really want to go there?
If we have time, we might go to Chick-fil-A. I don't know if we're going to have time. I don't know if it's on the route. But David and I will definitely be getting Chick-fil-A at the end of this episode, no matter what, on our way home. And yeah, so you guys aren't going to want to miss this. Let's head out to the truck.
Oh, wait.
We forgot David.
Yeah, you can get in the truck too. We're going to need you with us today.
All right, cool.
Are you serious? You don't actually have a high school education?
No, I quit going freshman year.
Is it encouraging to sit across from a 24-year-old person he's 4 years older than you? He's doing almost $2 million a year.
I'm on your ass all the time. Problem solve. Figure it out.
Jeff's face just wearing his Blockbuster merch is the whole episode.
Trailer to Aaron, and Aaron will figure it out.
You know, really, formal education will make you a living, and self-education will make you a fortune.
You're officially Parker McGee.
I'm not going to Texas.
This brings us to today. So welcome to the final episode of When I Grow Up, where we have been following the story of Parker McGee, who dropped out of college last year in hopes of becoming a TSR Concrete Coatings owner. As you know by now, the largest residential concrete coating company in the nation and undisputed champion of the known universe. Today, we're going to hear from Jeff and Parker how the end of Parker's journey on the When I Grow Up podcast has gone. Jeff, do you want to take it away from here?
Yeah, so you guys might notice that there's a gentleman sitting across from me.
Oh, wow, I didn't see you there.
He was
Stealthy.
He was actually supposed to be the host, which then he took a phone call, disappeared, never came back. And then
Phone call's done now.
E-Mark. Yeah, that was over a year ago.
Yeah.
And then E-Mark took over, and then we fired E-Mark. And then Joey took his spot. But Alex is actually my business partner for our bath company, Home Forever Baths. We're one of the largest Kohler dealers in the nation with that, doing the Kohler walk-in baths.
Undisputed champion as well.
Of the universe.
I think we could probably
We're getting there.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're getting there.
We're not there yet.
There's some big bath companies out there, so we're
getting
not even. we're getting there.
We'll just disregard.
Yeah. And so he's finally joined us for an episode of When I Grow Up. We were able to get our schedules aligned so that he can be with us for Parker's last one. But the reason I wanted Alex to be on this episode was that, one, we don't often get to share a beer, so shout out to Coors Light. And it looks like Parker's not going to drink his, so I'll have his.
Nice.
Sponsor.
He's gluten free. He can't, right?
But
At least someone understands.
Alex, although he's owned other companies, Home Forever Bass was actually his first foray into a home improvement industry company. So, for Parker, Alex is about a year and nine months ahead of you.
So he was growing up at the
ownership.
same time, kind of though, like just a little
Just a
bit.
few months ahead. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he was definitely new to the home. He's got some gray hairs. When he came to me,
yeah.
he didn't have any gray hairs.
I grew up real fast. My doctor tells me I have high blood pressure now.
Oh,
It's unfortunate.
it's good. Everything's fine.
Don't just tell him. Just wait.
Yeah.
So, but we wanted to talk about. It's been a while since we shot a podcast, right?
Very,
Like,
yeah, a couple months.
Everybody was getting busy. You were busy. Parker's busy. I'm busy. Alex is busy.
Yep.
And we just couldn't make it align. But I also wanted to wait until we could really shoot what I would think would be the last episode of When I Grow Up, because I think we can officially say at this point, Parker has grown up tremendously in the last year, and he's learned a lot. He's grown a lot. But he also has some exciting news. If you notice, we're not wearing TSR hats.
Yep.
So
Joy,
let's get in and
Joy, give him one look.
let's get into the episode, and let's talk about what's been happening. Actually, even things have changed at TSR.
Yep.
We've actually acquired another company called Icon Concrete Coatings down in Evansville, Indiana, and that's actually taken place since the last episode. So
Yeah.
it's pretty wild.
That's kind of why it's been a little bit since we've shot an episode. There's been a few companies that have been acquired, started, and expanded. So where do we want to start? Because people want to know. The people are here probably mostly to hear if E-Mark was right from the first clip. If Parker's a loser? If Parker failed. Yeah, I mean.
Does Parker own a TSR today?
So let's not answer that yet. Yeah. Maybe we should save that till the end, just so we can get our engagement up on the episode.
That's good.
Yeah.
Fair point. Smart.
A retention rate higher.
Smart.
Well, I think what we should talk about is what we've been doing.
Yeah,
right?
let's do
it. And what he's done. So Parker is actually. Go ahead and tell them. I don't need to tell your story. It's about time you grow up and tell your own damn story.
Ooh,
So
that's the intro right there.
So about 4 months ago, I actually, it started off with a text I sent to Jeff, and I said, hey, me and you should do landscape curbs. And he's like, no, I'm not doing fucking landscape. And I'm like, well, that idea is out the door.
I was pretty hard. Well, first of all, I think my significant other at home would agree that I have too many irons in the fire. And had I added, I would actually have to create a new fire to put more irons in.
The fire's full.
So I knew that if I brought to her, like, hey, here's this concrete curbing thing, she would have definitely shot that down. But I also told him no for not just that reason, for myself. Not that it wasn't a good idea, right? Because I didn't tell you that. I just said it's not for me because I know where I'm at in my life.
Right.
No, but so I brought that idea to him, then I kind of put it aside for like, I don't know, that was probably like almost at the...
You didn't put it aside. You kept freaking talking about it.
Well, then we eventually, I eventually started looking. I was
Jeff's
just
wished
like,
you put it aside.
Yeah, yeah. I just kept looking and seeing how I could make it work because I just thought the process was so unique. The transformation was wild. As we talked about, it's just the before and after picture. It's literally just like the garage floors. You can clearly see it. I started looking more into it, and I'm like, okay, the process is almost the same as the coating. So I was like, we could pay our installers almost the same thing as the coatings. And I'm like, the structure of like all the apps we would use would be the same. I'm like, it's literally everything I'm doing right now, except I would just have to, there'd be some bumps in the road as it's been right now. It's a lot of money and a lot of headaches, and it's been up and down. It hasn't been fun, I would say.
Ooh.
We're finally breaking even after a long road, but that doesn't.
He's been doing it for.
I was going to say 2 months. That seems...
Oh man,
poor thing.
Yeah. I've also had not a lot of. I have had help from you guys, but it's been I've tried to put a lot of stuff on just myself, which it's been, I don't know.
You haven't had help.
wanna-
You're using all their software that they told you how to use. No.
No, here's the thing. I want to tell you guys a little story about Parker.
Let's do it.
I cannot for the life of me beat the Steve McGee out of this kid. He refuses to be cheap in every aspect. Not cheap in like the product, but just literally scoundrelly cheap when it comes to trucks, trailers, whatever. So our deal is that he was going to be able to have a TSR, and unfortunately this year it just didn't work out. We just as far as and it wasn't. And so what I want to clarify is that we said for engagement, whatever.
That's
fine. We weren't able to put it together for him to go to his own location because of supply chain shortages, and that's not just for us; it's for everybody.
Yep. Which we talked about on some previous episodes as well.
Yeah, and it's been an issue, right?
Yep.
It doesn't mean that like you said when we were off air, it's not that it's not on the table because it still is. But I think it's been good that it's like started his own deal,
Absolutely.
right? Armor Edge curbing, which I don't like this logo. We think it's trash. We're gonna make him change it.
Yeah, drop a comment and let us know
Drop a
if you can
comment.
even read what this logo says.
Can you read? No, you can't. You can't read it because it's a terrible logo. But we're gonna fix it.
Keegan, back me up. I know you made it, but back me up.
Keegan needs to find a different line of work.
Go try again.
Still love you, Keegan.
But Parker is an asshole.
Say again?
An ask
Okay.
hole.
He'll define it, I'm sure.
Yeah. It's when you ask for help, and then when you get the help, you do the opposite of the help. Alex, do you know anything about being an asshole?
I've done that a time or two.
Yeah. So, Parker, I vividly remember whenever he started this curbing thing, he was like, hey, how should I set it up? I said, Parker, it's really easy. You already have all the tools because I've already taught you. I go, get your CRM set up because you already know how to use it.
Yep.
I go, it's literally the perfect program for you, especially at your stage in the game. Would you agree, Alex?
100%.
Okay, I said, get your QuickBooks set up. He calls me the other day. He says, hey, Jeff, man, I got this Excel spreadsheet I've been using for my expenses. And he's like, it's kind of hard. Oh, no shit.
He proceeded to say, what the fuck did I tell you?
Good impression.
All right,
Yeah.
sounds good.
Yeah, so it's like 7:45.
Download
at night.
QuickBooks
I'm
right
yelling,
now.
I'm yelling at Parker on the phone, going, "I already gave you all of the tools that you needed." I said, and I told you before you even started the company to set up. He's like, "Well, Jeff, it's like $200 a month." I'm like, Parker, there's a difference in can't afford it and can't afford not to, and
Yep.
you need to learn that.
Ooh, say that again. Difference in.
Can't afford it means you don't have the money.
Yep.
And can't afford not to, which means you can't afford not to have it because
Somebody
it's
write that
too
down.
valuable.
Parker, write that down.
Well, no, he's wrote it down. He just doesn't read it.
I got it now.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So, anyways, that's where we're at with Parker is that he's going to, hopefully he doesn't have any more asshole moments because it's been frustrating a little bit.
So really, what does this job look like? Do you have guys on your team already? Is it just you? What's kind of the goal with the AE, landscape, borders, and curbing?
So right now we actually got into the game pretty late, just as far as we're gonna have to shut down like middle of October.
Oh, so late in the season. Okay.
Yeah, because when it frosts overnight, you can't pour concrete, otherwise it just messes with it. So I was like, hey, I think we should just get our feet wet. Which has been good for us because we haven't been pumping out jobs every day, and we've had quality issues in terms of it's like I always tell people, it's like someone Jeff giving me buckets of everything and saying, okay, go try that garage floor. You have no process, but go try it. It's very different, and it's been a learning curve for sure. So we've dabbled in that, and I think we're every day or every install we get better. We have new systems in place, different stuff like that. And then next year we're actually gonna add a few guys that have been working with us this year, and then hopefully go when it starts March, we're gonna book out leads, just like Jeff said. I listen to you sometimes.
You're gonna write those leads down on an Excel spreadsheet.
Leads for when?
For March.
No, you're going to start running leads next week.
Okay, next we're gonna start.
And you're
running.
going to start booking your jobs for March.
Yes.
Right.
So
Hang on.
Right.
He might not have grown up. This might not be the last.
Okay.
one.
So Parker, did you write that down in your Excel spreadsheet?
Yep, I got it down, and we're gonna create a target audience after this episode. So
you're gonna start booking your leads now, but scheduling them for March.
We're gonna
Or
create the sales calls now.
okay.
So him and his partner, well, Parker in his free time, since he still works at TSR, which he doesn't have much of. Well,
We didn't talk about that yet.
Yeah.
we'll get to it.
Yeah.
Self-proclaimed manager, if you were wondering.
But he will create the lead and then do the sales call and then book the idea is that by the time he should get to March, April, May, he should already have those booked out for his curbing. They should be doing 4 to 5 jobs a week by then.
So for a recap for the listeners, how is a lead created? How do you get a lead?
Oh, you can either do like TV ads, newspaper, Facebook, Instagram.
So you're letting people know what you do.
So Parker, how are you going to do that?
Well, I think I kind of I've done a lot of. I don't know if you ever did the course, the Facebook Blueprint.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So when I did that, I think they talked about first just putting it out there and getting some recognition of just having them click on the link and being like, oh, this is something.
So you'll put it out there. 4 of your friends will see it. Maybe
Yep.
one of their moms will buy it.
Yep. And then getting and then I think just repeating, keep hitting that same customer. Facebook obviously does a pretty good job of that. If you click on something, it's going to keep showing it to you.
Retargeting.
Yep. And then, eventually we'll put a call to action, whether that be, just a book now or, something of that sort. We haven't got that far.
But we shouldn't try to generate very many leads until we have somewhere to put them, right, Alex?
Mm-hmm. That was my next question: is where are these leads then going? Well, I guess even
Excel
take a
spreadsheet,
step,
Alex.
Take
What
a
do you
step
mean?
back from that. Have you figured out how many leads? We're talking 4 to 5 jobs a week. You're going to need to generate, and where's that budget? I mean, self-proclaimed cheap ass.
Jesus Christ.
How much are you spending on it? So far, it sounds like you're just going to post some photos out there and hope someone sees them and says, that's cool. I want Parker to do this curbing thing for me.
That's what he's done so far.
This is like Florida all over again. This is why we have a great mentor sitting right next to me.
But you don't listen to him.
Hey, we're getting there.
Okay. All right.
This might be one of the greatest moments.
You should look at David's face. His face is completely purple. Try not to laugh.
I liked it more when Jeff went in on you, honestly.
I mean, that's fair too.
So you're gonna get a lead. Jeff just told us that that's done through letting the end user or the client customer know about your product through social media, TV, whatever medium that's going to be. So you're going to get that lead generated. And then Alex asked you, how many leads are you going to try to generate? Do you know what your budget is for that? And then where are you going to put the leads? So you kind of answered that you're in the process. For the viewers, just to recap that segment, you answered that you're learning all that right now still, right?
Yeah, I think that's more so the part I haven't done as far as like the, what I know you mentioned something like 7 to 12% of every job goes back into marketing, but it's, I haven't, that's the part I've done more of the sales and the installs and the, I can book the leads too. So that's, definitely one of the parts that I would say I've lacked.
And I would definitely say before you get too far into this, to really spend some time working on that and learning that, because it's where a lot of business owners, I personally think, fall over and stumble, is they forget the marketing end of it. They can figure out how to sell a job if they can get the lead, and there may be good installers, but they don't know actually what number it takes to generate that. And that's really where you can lose a lot of money. I mean, 7 to 12% is a great place to be. You can be on one or the other end of the spectrums of that too. You can be a cheap ass and want to say, I'm not going to spend more than 1% of my gross sales on marketing. You're probably not going to grow very fast or very large ever. Or you can be on the other end of it and just say, well, I'm getting leads and I'm selling job. I mean, I got to be making money. And then actually at the end of the year, look at your marketing costs and it's 30+%.
Yeah. But you hit a 5 million and you're like, you think that you owned the world, but you really, you didn't spend $500,000 to get there at 10%. You accidentally spent, 150,000.
So you're telling me there's a difference between revenue
1.5 million
and profit?
Which I'll say is, something that maybe Jeff has probably said this to you, but it hit me early on as one of the things that he said to me is volume is for vanity, profit is for sanity. That we can't just look at our gross numbers and be like excited to go over a certain amount. I mean, Jeff even told me last year at this time when we were planning, like, you will not do over this amount next year. You probably could. You could generate the leads, you could generate the sales, but you'll destroy the company because you'll grow too fast. We won't have the cash flow to sustain it.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I maybe had one of those asshole moments where I said, no, it'll be fine. We can grow faster than that. And we started pacing slightly above that.
Well, you started running into a shit ton of problems.
So we scaled that back a little bit. It's going much smoother now.
Yeah, it's just weird. It's like I'm Nostradamus. No, well, shout out to Rick Grasso for, I learned that 15 years ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I was in a seminar in Florida a long time ago. And one of the things that he said that stuck out to me was, that exact, the thing.
The thing.
I've always wanted to do the Biden.
The good thing.
Yeah, profit for sanity, volume for vanity. And if you really sit down and think about it, it doesn't really matter if you do a million in sales or 100 million in sales. If you didn't make any money at the end of it, if there's nothing left, if the company's not growing, if it's not in a position so that it can grow the next year even.
Right.
And that's what we're working on at the bath company is, are we making any money? No, we're not. Why? Because we're preparing for growth.
Correct. But to that side of it, we also have taken on no debt other than safe debt, like vehicle debt. That's all positive. We've done it in a very smart way where we've grown exponentially, all with cash flow.
Yeah. And I told Alex, the conversation that we had was, I said, if you pace more than 12 million, if you go from 0 to 5 in your first year, which we did, I go, 5 is a safe number. I go, 5 is comfortable. You were having fun at 5. Yeah. And I said, but when we go from 5, because your first projection you came to me with was like 15 million.
Right.
And I was like, I shot that down right away.
Yep.
I go, if you go from 5 to 15 million in one calendar year, I said, you'll hate your life. I'm like, 12 million max is where you want to be. And where are you guys pacing?
Right at 12.
Right at 12.
Right at 12.
Now, the funny thing is things get easier because we haven't made any money. We've moved from this, how much square feet was
1,200 square feet.
1,200 square feet warehouse to a 20,000 square feet warehouse.
It's massive.
It's absolutely huge. You even have your own studio in there.
Yes, we do.
And because
Joey has
we've
a
done
home.
that, Alex and the bath company and eMark are actually set up to scale to probably roughly 20 to 22 million before he really starts hitting some major speed bumps in their processes and efficiencies again. So what's cool is that the hard part's already over. We already did it, right? Now it's just, let's get to 22 million.
It's like you got the space, you got the people. Now you're working on maximizing all that stuff, essentially.
Yep, absolutely.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to grow into a 20,000 square foot warehouse, which came from 1,200.
So I want to get to Parker kind of teased the audience a little bit, mentioned himself being a self-proclaimed manager. I want to get to that in a minute, but I want to give a little bit more of a background of Alex. I don't know if you want to give your own background, if you want me to give your background, Jeff to give your background, Bianca to give your background.
He doesn't want the audience to give me his background.
Definitely not Parker.
We'll just have Alex give his own. Could you just tell them just a little bit maybe about your journey, maybe just over the last year and a half, 2 years?
Sure. So the journey started really in marketing and app development. That's how Jeff and I originally met.
I want my money back.
Hey, it worked out. But I think that's actually real interesting. It'll work out in the end. But I think that, to dive into a quick story, I think is an interesting story for entrepreneurs that are maybe early on and getting going. I mean, I was introduced to Jeff. We had a meeting. My plan was to go and sell him on a website and marketing package.
Yep.
That's really what we did. We were at Wagner House talking, and he said, I really want someone to just build me a fucking app. I want this visualizer thing. I just need someone to do that. And me and my bright mind said, I can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had no fucking clue how to build an app. No idea. Never done it. Had no idea how we were
How
going to do
hard
it.
can it be, though?
How hard can it be?
Yeah.
Like, he wants it done. I want to work with Jeff. Like, I'll figure it out. He has a need. I'll figure out how to get it done for him. And the rest will be history and work out great. So, I mean, I went home that night and, like, found an app developer. Like, yeah, this guy. Jeff doesn't know this story. So now he's like, oh.
I hope Tyler doesn't watch us.
And I designed an app, like this basic screen walkthrough type of thing of it. And then I went into neck surgery the next day. I had like an invasive neck surgery.
Oh, wow.
Get out of neck
I didn't know
surgery.
that.
And I got to finish building this thing. I'm like high off on drugs basically at that point. Like
Looked really
Legal
good.
drugs.
legal drugs.
Kids.
Legal drugs. Building this app out. And that night I have to go meet with Jeff to present it to him. So show up at his house, like basically high with this app to present to him.
Did you show up in the Aztec?
And he bought it. I did. I showed
Nice.
up in the
Okay.
Aztec. Beautiful Azzy. Was almost sent away. We'll put a photo of
I
Azzy
said,
up here
I
somewhere.
need you to get that piece of shit off my driveway.
She's a beaut. But I mean, that's there's always a way to make it work. And did I ever, in that process of putting that together, did I ever ask you to pay me? Of getting all of that together.
It was like not before the mock-up. Once I saw the mock-up, I can't remember what I gave you down. It was like 15 grand or something like that.
It was a small amount towards the full project. But the point of that being, I think a lot of people get stuck up when they're trying to go after a client, let's say. And there's our listeners out there that I'm sure have businesses or want to start businesses and want to work with like a TSR, Home Forever Baths, or potentially Parker's new company. And they go to them and just say, I can provide you these services and it's going to cost XYZ amount of dollars. And they don't think, how can I first just provide you value and show you that I can be useful to you? Because you're much more open to looking if someone comes to you with, here's what I can do for you. Here's what I already did for you.
Already designed, yeah, exactly.
And then have the money discussion. And I think that's, correct me if I'm wrong, probably something that you saw early on that.
Well, I think what happened is that you took the time to listen to what I wanted. Because I had this idea in my head. It hadn't been done yet, and I was like, now I see other coatings companies are coming out with their own visualizers, so kudos to them. Garage Kings, you fuckers. Their visualizers actually really nice. But it was, I had this vision and I really was like, Alex brought me something that looked like what I had in my head. So naturally I was like, okay, well, obviously they can make apps. I mean, I had no freaking idea that he'd never built one before.
Right. But it worked out.
Made it off neck surgery, which is impressive.
Yes.
Yeah. But I think that's just to go to show there's different ways to go about it, that you can just pitch someone a product and a service, or you can figure out how to provide them value. And had I not done that, had I just said, Jeff, it's going to be 150 grand to build you this app that first night at Wagner's house, you would have said, get the fuck out
Wall
of here.
up. Yep.
Yeah. Well, what you did is you showed me what I wanted, right?
Yep.
And I was like, but we had other plans. We were going to let other coatings companies have it. And, honestly, we gave a presentation about it. A lot of guys wanted it. And what I realized was at that point was we gave a few people access to it. And then at the same time, I was like, it's pretty cool. It's not, I still would say it's not done.
No.
We could enhance it
You
even
stuck
further.
me in this bath company, and now I have no extra time to do anything.
But it's functional, right? And it works. And what I realized is that some of the ideas that we have at TSR and the way we do things in the app, and just kind of our whole processes and procedures, we need to hold that a little tighter, right? And not just allow everybody to have it. At the time, we were part of a dealer network, and we were kind of expected to give away certain things. While now we're not a part of that anymore. We have our own ownership network, I guess I would call it.
Right.
And so we don't have to give away those things except for to each other.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But quick rundown from there. What happened after that? We built that app. We launched that app, and
at this time you were not business partners with Jeff.
We were not business partners. We had actually gone to launch this app at that dealer conference. And at that point, Jeff was looking at starting this bath company.
Sure.
We get back from that. Emark somehow calls you.
I was not looking at starting this bath company. Let's back up because now here's
I
where
know how in detail you wanted to go there. So I was treading lightly.
So my previous business relationship was crumbling after I had completely built GetAPro into this monster of a company. And part of the reason it was crumbling was because I was, devoting X amount of my time to TSR, and then we had, Get a Pro, and then at the time I think it's Midwest Bath, and now it's Midwest Bath. Thanks, you guys are welcome for the name. It's a great logo. And as that relationship was coming to a close, because I realized that there's way more potential over here, and this is something that you're going to have to look at in your life. You're going to have to know when to open doors and when to close doors. Mm-hmm. And me and my former business partner had done $98 million in business together. Yeah, we almost did 100. And, and I'm thankful for all of the learning process that I went through, because I learned a lot of what to do and also a lot of what not to do. I learned a lot of who to surround yourself with. And some of those same people are still with me today. AJ is with you, and, Zach Custer and Justin Mills and Robert Martinez. And, we've kept a lot of those people around. But the big thing about that is like, we come back from that meeting. I met with Chris. At that point, we decided to dissolve our business relationship, and we would part ways. Part of that dissolve is that I had to take on basically what some would consider a pretty massive debt in vehicles and certain things. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, well, I have to figure out like what I'm going to do, right? Because
TSR was already a thing at this point, though, right?
TSR was a thing.
Okay.
But I was leaving a company that I had done $98 million in sales with negative dollars.
Oh.
Not even zero. Minus.
Less than zero. Ooh.
Yeah. And I had to figure out how to turn negative debt that I was taking. Shout out for that. That was great. And flip it, right? And so part of our agreement was that I would take our Kohler, because we had our Kohler dealership. I could have chose to just pay off that and not done anything. Mm-hmm. Or I could have, I also had jobs of other individuals that I had to think about.
Sure. Oh yeah, the people that were working for the
bath company,
side, yeah.
for the bath side that lived here.
Wow.
Right. So I had to think of those individuals on if we were going to continue moving forward with it, because it wouldn't have made it made a lot of sense for people living here to drive all the way to Iowa or something like that. So ultimately what happened was I was like, I think E-Mark happened to call me.
It just happened
at the
right
wrong time coming back from the said meeting, and I was pissed.
Oh,
not really that the business relationship was dissolving, because that had been dissolving for a while over time, but really more so that I was leaving them with a functional company, and I was leaving with debt in a non-existent company. And I'm like,
I didn't know any of this. This is wild.
What do you, when you say, I mean, you don't even have to answer it if you don't want to, but what do you mean by dissolving?
You were just leaving the partnership, right?
Were there problems within it, or what do you mean by that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there was massive production issues and things of that nature that.
So like you going back and forth with your business partner, or just shit within the company?
I wouldn't say that we ever had like a fight, right? It really just came down to, we always had a saying, and it held true right until the very last day, December 9th, 2019, is we're only friends when we're making money. Mm. The day that stops, we're not friends anymore. And it wasn't really even at the time that we weren't making money. It was really just, I think that there was some resentment from my building of TSR, right?
Sure.
And there was also, because I wasn't spending the time growing that business. Like, you have to remember, like, I just donate. I don't want to say I donated, but I feel like I donated, even though I got paid during that time frame. Mm-hmm. I donated a decade of my life to an organization to leave with negative dollars.
So yeah, seems kind of like a donation a little bit. Yeah.
And the other party might feel differently, right? But that's how I felt.
Yeah.
Is that whatever. So I moved on.
Yeah.
But what I realized, Parker, is that, and you're gonna have situations in this life. You're a young guy. What are you, 21? You have a long ways to go by the time you even get to where I'm at. I'll be in the nursing home by the time you get where I'm at.
Don't say that.
But you do have to know. You got to know when to hold them, and you got to know when to fold them. And at that point, I was like, how much time and how much money am I losing by not helping move TSR forward and any other ventures I might be a part of.
Exactly.
By staying a part of this, even if I was in a consultant role, it was also something that I didn't enjoy.
And you can only say yes. If you say yes to one thing, you're saying no to the other. So circling back, Emark's like, yo, Jeff. And you were in the truck on your way home from this meeting, and you're like, why are you calling me, bro?
Yeah, I think the problem with Emark is I probably ignored like the first 3 calls, but he's very persistent. Calling. And he called me and I was like, what? And he's like, so I'm like, what's up? And he was like, I go, Emark, I am trying to figure out how to turn over $100,000 in debt. I have to flip it into a bath company that's going to hopefully make money. I go, I'm going to have to put up, however X money to make it happen. I got to go to the bank. I got to figure this out. And Emark's like, whoa. What is me?
You called the right guy.
Yeah.
You and Alex, or Emark and Alex both are like, we can fix that.
Yeah. So he's like, well, why couldn't me and Alex be a part of it? And I go, well, I can think of like about 7 or 8 reasons right off the top of my head if you want me to on why you can and shouldn't be a part of this. And again, but one of the great things about Emark is he is very persistent.
Yeah.
And me and Emark have had it out since he's been in the bath company. Me and Emark have had it out multiple times about multiple things, but I think he's also grown tremendously in the last 2 years. Since being a part of the Bath Home Improvement Company and. Just looking back on that conversation, sometimes it's just pure luck and opportunity.
It really is right place, right time, made the right call. Then he was able to convince you to have dinner with us. I remember he called me right then. He said, hey, I don't care what you're doing. We're meeting in Freeport at 7:00. Make dinner reservations for Jeff, Tyler, Sarah, Amber. We're meeting there. I was like, what? Why? What are we doing? He's like, we're going to buy a bath company.
Yeah.
Yeah. You did too. And it was like within days, wasn't it?
No, I mean, it was that day we had the conversation and Jeff and Tyler made the offer for us to come on board. That same day that he was driving back, we met, had dinner, had that conversation. I mean, I think Emark, we left with what the numbers would be. Mark and I talked, figured out how we were going to come up with the money, called Jeff back and said, we'll figure it out.
Joey, you have to understand something here. I had a loan payment due on a note against assets I didn't want.
Yeah, fair.
We created a company that was functional.
Like 1 week.
In, I think it was 14 days.
Yeah.
I remember.
Between setting up, we created a company that didn't exist. We set it up with financing. We pushed it through Kohler, which is unheard of. By the way, the onboarding process to become a Kohler dealer takes how long?
Oh, months. 6 months.
14 days. Is how fast we pushed it through because I already had all the relationships with everybody. But even with my current relationships that I'd had for over a decade, it was strenuous to get this thing done and operational by January 2nd.
Oh yeah, no, it was no kidding. It was a day. Like we had finished that dinner at like 10 o'clock at night. We were here at 6:30 the next morning getting it going.
So you have an excuse for your bad logo, but Parker still doesn't have an excuse for his bad logo. But anyway, going forward. Okay, so 14 days,
like 1 day.
A company started because Jeff's like, I don't want to pay this loan payment.
Well, it wasn't just a loan. It was, I have friends that worked for that company.
True, yeah.
That have been with me and been loyal to me for so long.
And you would have had to personally pay it out of your own money, right?
Yeah.
If you like, it was your debt. I don't know if people understand that. Like that was on you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you figured out how to do it and made it happen in 14 days.
Yeah, and originally me and Emark coming on was to just be the marketing side of it.
That's
we were going to generate the leads. That was going to be our ownership piece of it. That's really all we were going to do. We ran home shows in the beginning. I mean, Emark and I were out there getting leads in home shows, getting things going, pulling in the leads. And that's where our really involvement stopped. Then COVID-19 hit.
Yeah.
Which, imagine you started a brand new business. We invested money in it, got things going. All of our marketing was home show based. You know, those things where people get together at. Remember those from back in the day?
Oh, yeah, vaguely. Yeah.
Those disappeared overnight. So brand new business, 3 months old. COVID hits. We almost went out of business.
And you were still running your marketing company.
Still had the marketing company.
That I worked for at the time.
Yeah, you were an employee.
I was an employee. Yes, sir.
Man. But no, I mean, I remember it was probably March of that year. I was in here working, like trying to get leads and convince salespeople to run virtual appointments or go out and run some appointments just so we could get some sales in. And I walk out in the warehouse, Jeff, Tyler, E-Mark are talking like, yeah, I think we got 30 days left. We can probably sell this truck for this. We can probably get rid of this and, make it break even. And at that point, like a switch flipped in me. I was like, no, we're not closing down. We're going to figure out how to make this work.
Yep.
And I think at that point, I mean, we were getting together to work on some marketing project, and I had shared with Joey, hey, we're like 30 days from going out of business. Maybe at this point, like 25 days.
So we were actually so if any of you guys know the podcast E-Mark and A-Mark, this is A-Mark. We were filming an episode because we didn't have anything else to do. Because all of our clients were like, nah, fam, we're not talking to you in person, COVID-19. So
we don't need marketing?
Yeah, we don't need marketing.
Did you hear we're
stimulus
closed?
Checks. Anyway, so honestly, we were just honestly trying to figure out how to be creative and, utilize our time with what we could do. And we didn't have an office, and no one would let us go to their house, not including my wife, because she was a nurse and she was working around a lot of COVID people or COVID patients, and we didn't know what this was. And so my parents have a 3-stall detached garage that we had built a recording studio in as kids, and they're like, yeah, you guys can hang out there.
Yeah,
the heat was broken though.
Yeah, it's cold.
So we were sitting in, just to set the scene, we were sitting in a cold garage.
We had hot pizza though.
With hot Pizza Hut that we had just picked up because we didn't have anything else to do. And Alex is like, he literally says, hey, maybe instead of filming today's podcast, he's like, maybe we can think of a way to save this company. And he's like, we're 30 days away from bankruptcy. He's like, we've got debt on trucks. And I'm like, yeah, that actually seems more important than this.
Better use of time.
I mean, we left at that moment, drove out here,
wrote the script in the truck. We were just hashing back and forth.
And it was the stupidest video of me like spinning around in a chair. And I'm like, hey, you want a shower, don't you?
Yep.
And it was a Facebook ad that ended up working tremendously well because people just weren't doing it during COVID. So we ended up standing out.
And
so
you said, call my personal number.
Oh, that's right.
And he put his personal, which was a bad idea.
1-800.
No, it was his real phone
It was a great
number.
idea then. I regret that now.
Yeah, anyway,
great
sorry.
idea then.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, we put that out there and it started to work pretty much instantly. And we got leads in, which was great. But then we had the problem that you may run into is you get these leads and you have no one to run them. I mean, at this point it was COVID and all of our sales reps were like, nah, COVID Chicago? I don't think so. I got kids, family, maybe viable excuses. They wouldn't run leads. So I decided I'm going to go run leads. I remember one day in the office, I'm like, Jeff, where are the sales kits? He's like, why do you need a sales kit? We're not running leads. I'm like, I need a sales kit. And I took it and left and I posted.
He took my sales kit.
You weren't doing anything with it. And I ended up, I went out my first day selling. I ran one ride along lead once, never been on a lead, didn't know what I was doing. Jeff showed me how to use the software once and I just fumbled through and ended up selling a lead. It was an awful deal, terrible deal. Remember it very well, but I sold the deal.
You sold it.
I sold the deal that night, and Jeff's like, "Whoa, out there, number one sales guy," which was a $7,000 shower. Awful deal. Now looking back at it, but that's where it really started to shift. Is I ended up going from every really piece of the company and figuring it out. And at one point, Jeff was like, "Hey, I really don't have time to keep doing this ordering and production and all this. TSR is exploding right now."
Yeah. So as our bath company was doing this, because our clients are 60 to 85 years old,
and you had to go in their home,
and we had to go in their home, and
all in Chicago.
Every news station is saying, "Do not allow people in your home. Stay in your homes." So these guys are going down, and I'm like, I looked at, and TSR is doing this.
Yep.
And I go, Alex, we will go bankrupt if I continue to lead this because I will never betray my wallet. So I go, I need you to take over here. And me and Tyler actually sold him the majority share of the company right at that moment. And I was like, if you're going to do a majority of the work, you need to be in majority of the control. I go, I've never been a part of, it wasn't until that moment that I'd ever been a part of an organization that I was like the president and CEO of,
sure,
that I didn't have majority share. And what I realized at that point, it actually made a huge shift for me, was because now I'm president and CEO of multiple corporations, but I don't have to, I'm not the majority owner in almost 50% of them.
Mm-hmm.
So that was like oh shit, you can do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you can lead, and you don't have to be the majority shareholder in these companies. Like you can do it a different way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, really, from there, it was Emark, myself, really just figuring it out, getting it going, and with Jeff being there as the really advisor and lots of ask Cole moments over the last year.
He's like, hey, what do you think about this? I'm like, I wouldn't do that. And then like,
I already did it though.
no, he would do it. He'd never say that he did it. And then like 2.5 weeks later, he'd be like, hey, so we got this complaint, right? Like from this customer. He's like, and he like would describe the complaint. I'm like, isn't that isn't that the job I told you to kill? Like to not do it? And he's like, yeah, so we did it.
I can just see Alex.
had money, so.
Alex is sitting right next to Emark, and he's on the phone with Jeff, and he hangs it up. And he's like, "Yeah, Jeff said go ahead and do it."
That's good. Don't worry about it.
Run it back.
Yeah.
No, and
Get your tool bag.
but every time that would happen, I would tell Alex, I say, you just really, apparently for whatever reason you like to learn the hard way. I go, I really need you to start listening to me when I tell you no. I go, because that's 15 years. I go, I've already paid for that mistake. When you ask me about it and I tell you no, I go, please don't make me pay for that mistake again, because I've already been there.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Parker.
He's looking directly.
Which I'll say 95% of the time is absolutely true. But I'd also, encourage you or anyone else that has a mentor, don't just blindly also follow them. Because I'd say, 9.95 out of 10, it's correct. And I look back and I'm like, I should have just done what Jeff told me to begin with. Like that was the smart way to do it. There are a few times where it's like, no, I'm happy with what I chose to do in this way.
Well, you have to learn, right? You have to learn the correct way. You have to learn the correct way. But like I said, I was like, I think like the first 3 were ones that cost us a lot of money. Yeah, and I was like, can we start, if we're going to experiment, can we try ones that don't cost quite so much? Like
That's fair.
It's fair. Ask.
But that is a good point. And that's something I really enjoy about working with Jeff, is that he does, especially in the video creative that we get to make for a lot of his companies, he gives us a lot of creative freedom. Mm-hmm. He's got ideas, he's got input. He's like, so this is an idea I had, and then I'll call him and be like, I remember in the earlier stages, I would definitely overcall you and like an overly attached girlfriend, and I would just over communicate and be like, Jeff, what do you think about this and that? And I'd be asking him stuff, and he's like, I don't care. I don't know. Just do it. Like, and then I would do it, and he gives us good feedback, but a lot of times he's just like, yeah, this is freaking awesome. Great work.
What I'm noticing is that the videos that I'm getting now, we don't have to make quite so many edits. Like
right.
the last one you did for the holiday house, I'm like, I think my only complaint was, I go, you're about a second and a half too early on the speaking.
I'm like, that's it? Okay.
Yeah, like the video comes on and he starts talking right away, and you miss like the first 3 words that he says, and I'm like, you need to just let the video run for a second and then.
Yeah. But that's another thing I appreciate, is you give us actionable feedback so we can take it and go implement it, rather than we're just sitting there like trying to figure out what to change.
Right.
But
well, you need to put yourself in the perspective of a consumer.
There's something stuck on. There's something on your hat.
You got a stain on your hat.
Spit
Is it like a green streak?
Yeah, it's a green streak up there.
Yeah. So.
Probably a grass
what does
stain.
a consumer think about, whether it's that holiday house video or whether it's the stupid logo on this hat? How does that look, right? And these are things that Parker needs to translate into his new business that he's doing. So, me and Tyler, we've talked a lot about it. And we were 100% behind him when he, like, literally 100% of your trailer behind you.
Yes, you guys funded the first trailer, right?
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, that was the deal that I had made with him. I said, if you stay and manage. Well, so I think the question you asked earlier when we got off topic was, about him managing. He says self-proclaimed, but he runs the Madison office.
So Parker McGee is still working for TSR.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And why I think it's a good thing is that, he's running an office probably about the size that he could handle. You could maybe handle even another trailer, right? Or two. But what he's doing is he's mirroring what he should be doing is mirroring his own business after what he's currently doing.
Sure.
Like there's literally almost nothing different except for the product change that you should be doing. It's the same thing.
Yep. Same consumer, same process, same marketing.
It's like going to college except getting paid to go to college.
You know what? I know we've been crapping on your logo, but one thing that I do appreciate is that you made a logo really quickly and you built, like, you were talking about your website. I remember last week you texted me, you're like, hey, you're asking me some design questions about the site. And I actually said, I'm like, I don't think that you necessarily should be focusing your resources immediately on a beautiful website if you have no one that's going to go there, because no one's going to be looking up AE landscape border. I'm reading it, borders and curving. No one's going to be searching that organically. So you have to, I'm like, maybe, having a website is valuable, but I was like, maybe just make yourself one quick. And this dude just built himself a Squarespace website, doesn't know how to do it. And it has all the information you need to know on there. He did it.
Parker, what does your
website
do though? That's one question you have to ask yourself, because I paid Spectrum. Fuck you, Spectrum, by the way.
Not a sponsor.
Not a sponsor.
Absolutely.
Not a sponsor. Don't ever use them. They're terrible.
Anti-sponsor.
But I paid them $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 a month for the longest time.
What?
Yeah.
A month?
Yeah.
Yeah, that many zeros.
Yeah. For the longest time.
Business.
Right?
No, I'm not. I'm like, I just remember your old website was like,
it was
okay.
But one of the things that I realized was I paid a tremendous amount of money for it, is that what does the website actually do? What do we want it to do, right? Versus what? No, it doesn't. The website doesn't necessarily get the leads. What does it do, Alex?
Harvest the leads.
It captures the leads.
Yeah.
Okay. If you think that people are just gonna, like Joey said, a landscape curbing armor edge, they're gonna be typing that in. They're not. Are they gonna, where you're ranking on Google? Is it important? Yes, it is, to a certain degree when you get to a certain level.
Yeah, when you're, yep.
But Joey's telling you, hey, that's not that big of a deal, right? Your website should be capturing all of the leads you're driving to it.
Correct.
That's what's most important. So as long as your website does that, which it has some tweaks it needs to do, like your quote form needs to stay on the page as people are scrolling. That's the one thing that I don't know if you can code that into Squarespace or not. Can you?
Can. Yep.
Can you? So the quote form thing is a big deal, but as long as that stays with your consumer as they're scrolling down the page, that's really all you need.
Yeah.
Which we already made that change.
We at least made your header sticky so that they can still click get a quote at any time. That was a quick change. But anyway,
that was the first feedback that I gave to you was, hey, this needs to change.
But it is cool to just see that you're doing it, because a lot of times I feel like, and for the viewers, this is really important. A lot of times I feel like I'll hear a lot of people with ideas and they never start. And at least you have a logo that someone can critique. At least you have a website that someone can give you feedback on. At least you're doing these things that you can then correct and steer and drive in the right direction. So I think that was really cool. I'm like, this kid he doesn't know how to build a website, but he just did one anyway. Like, they don't know how to build an app, but they just figured it out. They don't know how to run a bath company, but they just figured it out. I feel like a lot of times people are waiting for that, waiting until they're ready and then trying to do something. And then they turn 90 and they're like, I was never ready, but you never did anything. You never learned how to do it.
Well, how many times do you hear people say, "Oh, when I get my tax money."
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I'll invest in that when I get my tax money. I'll put,
finances 3 couches instead. Crazy.
Rent a center.
Yeah, but anyway, yeah. So what we've learned on this episode is that, and this is the final episode of When I Grow Up. What we've learned is that Parker still works for TSR, and it's not off the table for him to become an owner, but at the time, due to supply chain shortage in some products, it wasn't responsible maybe to send Parker out into that situation and potentially run into some things you didn't have to run into.
Yeah, so literally we just took our last clear order of the year, most likely. The last top coat and
Wow.
the shiny stuff that goes on. So
Yep.
we took that massive order, by the way. Hopefully it gets us to the end of the year, but we don't know if we're going to get more.
Yeah. And so this by no means, as you heard in the show, means that Jeff and Tyler are upset with Parker's progress and what he's done. They've actually essentially handed him the Madison location to manage.
Yeah.
And invested, I don't know what you would call it, just maybe a gift for his time and whatnot. But
It was,
you guys gave him that. Gave him some equipment to start his new company.
Well, it was in lieu of, right?
Sure.
So it was between now and December 31st. I said, if you don't go anywhere, it's yours. But if I
Wow.
send you somewhere because I can get my hands on the product, then you have to pay it back to me.
Nice.
So if I feel comfortable enough that we can do that, then yeah. But otherwise, it's his.
Parker, would you even want to do that at this point? I mean, having
That's a
now
good question.
gotten into, you started your own business, your own product line. What's the ambition with it? Is it just kind of a filler until TSR has a location available for you? Or is this more of a long-term play that you want to grow to be the size of TSR?
Interesting.
So I think it's always gonna be something where, like he was kind of saying, he's like the president or CEO of multiple other positions, but more so you're, the driving force. I think, eventually, if it takes me somewhere else, I think whether that, means, we put more driving force on Sean, because I would love to, and Sean's the kid
Business
I went
partner,
into
right?
business
Oh,
with.
you have
Yep.
a business partner.
Yep.
Oh.
So, if it takes me putting more driving force on him, he's still, I've got a huge fucking jump start on him, obviously, because I was, learning from Jeff and I was doing all this stuff. He always constantly is like, dude, can I do this? And I'm like, bro, I got it. Like, that's just like who I am. I'm just like, I'm going to send this, from A to B, like now. And that's, when we talked about
Website's
the website.
done in 2
it
days.
was like, no, like, just give me a day. Like, because I'm just going to sit there and do it until, I got it done. But it's, I talked to Jeff about it. Am I money ahead to go somewhere and, pay them to do it? Or am I money ahead just to, stay, manage it, kind of make, because I would say, that the Madison office, kind of with the Quad Cities, eventually it was kind of just like, I feel like Quad Cities was kind of a headache for you guys when you didn't have anyone there to manage it. Now you have Seth and them.
Well, I mean, Seth and Chris were always there, but we never really put them in position to do
Sure.
it until here, recently within the last 3 or 4 months. And it's like, I think Seth always said, he's like, yeah, we always felt like the redheaded stepchild, And I was like, I don't think that we ever intended it to be that way. I'm like, but you have to understand is that, every day I've got 9 spinning plates.
Sure.
Right. And hopefully, you spin the slowest. But now they're becoming a driving force, right? Chris and Seth have really stepped up. Their 5th truck and trailer just got delivered to them.
Wow.
And they, Bloomington and Quad Cities are about the same size.
Wow. That's
know?
awesome.
And, there isn't an owner there. There's, Chris and Seth and now Becca.
So similar to how it's set up with Parker.
Yeah,
and Madison.
similar to Parker. And, Parker's got 3 trucks and trailers, and at some point he's going to have 4, and he's going to have 5 because Taylor's a beast. Taylor's selling like crazy. So
go ahead.
When you put someone in that, especially I would say from my perspective, I take a lot of pride in it too. Whereas I don't treat it like it's Jeff and Tyler's. I treat it like it's mine.
Mm-hmm.
Even if I am just in a management role, it's just how it they'll leave something out in the shop, and I'll be like, whose shop is this? Yeah, go ahead and put that back.
Yep.
Because it's just like, I don't know, it's just who I am. I'm going to treat it like it's mine.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that helps, in turn helps them probably a little bit too, because they're not wondering if they just have, 8 installers up there, leaving the shop.
It's immaculate every
and-
time I go there.
Yeah.
So, and we pop
I could
up
imagine
on 'em.
that.
So the unique thing about Parker's office is that Quad Cities and Madison, we've turned into material hubs because Legacy and Menominee Falls and Lena can draw from Madison if we need to. So we have an absurd amount of material sitting in that Madison location and down here in the Quad Cities for Bloomington and Lena to draw from.
Sure.
And having that much material, there's a huge responsibility that comes with that. But with having all of that material sitting there and all those trucks and trailers, like, it's clean.
Wow.
Which is the most important thing. 'Cause that's the first thing I look for.
Yeah, every time I've been there, it's beautiful.
We'll give a huge shout out. We'll follow up on Cap's performance too.
Sean Cap.
Yep, he's really stepped it up too.
Very
I
good.
love. I promote him as the head dog because then I'm like, Sean, I don't like this. I'm like, go fix that, and he'll be like, hey, what the fuck are we doing? And I'm like, attaboy, Cap, attaboy.
Hey,
But
he took that podcast he was on personally.
Yeah.
No, he
In a good
stepped
way,
it up, and he's definitely, I would say he's grown. He's he's
cool.
Helped me with the borders a little bit too. He's just like, we'll sit down and he'll shoot the shit with me and be like, dude, I think like we could do something different like right here, and like he doesn't even have any stake in it, and I'm like, that's a pretty good idea. So he's just, he's grown a lot, and, it's been awesome to see being one of his best friends, I would say. I'd call him one of my better friends, if not one of my best friends. I've known him for my whole life. So
Yeah.
it's definitely, been cool to see him grow that much as well.
Alex, you got some more questions for Parker, right?
Yeah, I mean, one big one that hit me, you had said, I'd ask you something, you said, and my partner. I got to ask, what made you decide to go into business with someone when starting this curbing business?
I just knew I couldn't handle it alone as far as, I'm already, intaking all the leads and then booking the leads and then running the leads and then setting up the installs. I needed someone at least to just install it. And he was, we've worked on the golf course, super hard worker, does anything you ask. So I knew even if, and me and him have, there's been ups and downs, and, I would say we get on each other's nerves just because that's who, we're best friends, and, shit like that happens. But I said, I told him the same thing Jeff always said. I said, if it ever gets in between our friendship, I say we just walk. I'd rather just have a friendship than money. We can do it, with someone else and make money as well.
Yep.
But it's been a rough ride, and I don't expect it to get any better anytime soon. But
let's dig
You
into
sound
that,
like
'cause it's-
E-Mark.
no, but eventually it'll get there. I think the startup, I mean, I guess you guys can attest to that. Is the startup the hardest part?
No,
You don't think so?
no, that first week was probably the most fun.
Oh man.
That was, it's exciting. You get your first sale. I remember Jeff walks in here. We sold a shower.
No, you got to go like this. Woo! You gotta do that Ric Flair.
It doesn't get easier. I mean, aspects of it get easier and aspects get harder. But to dive into that partnership, and I mean, especially partnering with your best friend has a lot of risk.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jeff's done it. I've done it.
Yep.
Was Chris your best friend with the bath company? Probably not.
Competitor.
Okay, competitor. But we
Maybe
know
that's
that
why it ended the way it did.
It can either work out really, really well. You can make a lot of money, be very successful, and it can work great. Or we've heard those horror stories, which honestly is more often than not. There's a saying, the only ship that doesn't sail is a partnership. Because statistically speaking,
Dave Ramsey.
partnerships don't work out.
Yeah.
Most businesses that are partnerships actually end up failing because the partners can't work together successfully. So what were your conversations with your partner? I'm sorry, I don't know his name. But what were those conversations like early on when you're getting this going that made you decide that, yeah, this is a person I want to basically marry my life to in business, which is where we spend most of our lives, and do this together with? What did that look like?
I mean, just to, kind of like what I touched on before, it was just something like we had the idea. I'm like, hey, we're best friends. This could, get ugly. I don't, anticipate that. Otherwise, I wouldn't have gotten into business with you. But
It sounds like Parker met a girl at a strip club and asked her to marry.
Right.
we definitely run that risk. But no, I think it's
And he's a 50% partner, right?
yeah. And when I said earlier it was hard on the startup and I expected it to get easier, is because I just feel like right now we're intertwined in a lot of stuff, because I'm doing the installs as well, just because we don't have anyone that we've hired out, just because, how am I going to say, hey, you have a part-time job of 1 day a week for the next 4 weeks, and then you're laid off. whatever that means, I guess, it's, so I've just been like, and I'm hard to work with because I already told him, I was like, dude, I need to get off the installs just because I'm just like him when I'm in, when I'm around something, I'm like, hey, listen up right here. And like, that's, that's not always a good thing to be. So I think that's definitely put, a lot of pressure, made him feel a certain way that probably isn't great either.
Have you disagreed on anything?
Yeah, I would say absolutely. We've disagreed all the time in sports, and one of his famous stories he'll tell people is he ran for like a 60-yard touchdown. And I came back and like I didn't shake his hand or something. He's like, "What's up?" And I was like, "Score that next time." So that's just like that's just who I am, and I think he acknowledged that. I think
you guys had any big disagreements in the business so far?
No, I don't think as far as that. I think he's. He understands that I've been in it a little bit longer, and I was kind of, telling Alex, we've touched on some stuff, and I've been like, how doesn't he know that? But then I'm like, sit back, and I'm like, okay, I've asked Jeff a lot of stupid ass questions, so I'm not gonna, critique anyone in that because he hasn't done.
Yeah, you gotta learn. Learn.
Hasn't done anything close to it, so I gotta, pull myself back at times for sure too.
Yeah,
but it's a completely different relationship, right? Like what you've had with Jeff, there was always going towards being a potential business partner, but you weren't business partners. You were an employee of TSR. Where now with this new partner, you're 50-50. They're truly married to you within the business, so to speak. When there is that disagreement, because there will be. I mean, let's say he wants to. He's very ambitious on the install side, right? Let's say he is. That he wants to bring on 10 crews tomorrow. And he says, I got all these guys. I've got these connections. I'm going to bring these 10 crews in, Parker.
Yep.
What do you say? Is that a good idea?
Well, I think we fit, I think we fit well in terms of, he does know, he's like, you've been doing it, you know how to get it done. So, let's ride that. He's, I'm totally open to suggestions when he says stuff. It happened with the QuickBooks. He said, why are we? It was my initial reaction too, so I didn't blame him for it. I was like, or he said, why are we paying $1,800 over winter, for Market Sharp and QuickBooks? And I was like,
Sean said this?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And that's what I initially said to Jeff, and then Jeff said it, and I, took a few days, and I'm like, okay, like that makes sense. This is a lot easier. I have everything documented, and he said the same thing to me, and then I was just like. I literally said, do you want me to do it or no? And they said, do whatever you want. And then I just did it. So I think he's just, he takes times too where he steps back and is just like, you're here for a reason. And I take, time back and I'm like, you're here for a reason. And we just kind of accept the fact and go with it.
And that's really great because that's what I was going to say is you have to sometimes just trust the other partner and what they're going to do. And you have to hold them accountable. But I know Jeff has done that with me where he doesn't necessarily 100% agree with a decision I'll make. But if I make the decision, he'll support it.
Yep.
Same with E-Mark. And it's I think something that we all do that if somebody makes a decision, we publicly support them. And once that decision's made, you got to back them. They're your partner. You got to have their back. And you have to now, even if it's not what you wanted, it has to now become your decision as well. And you have to have a unified front across everything. Otherwise, as I know early on, E-Mark and I, speaking about us, didn't in a few things. Yep. And it became an issue within the bath company from a few points where he would say one thing, I would say another thing, and we weren't necessarily on the same page communicating. And that becomes a big issue as you start to grow. It's not as big a deal when it's maybe just you, 1, 2 other people, but you start getting people where you walk into the warehouse or the office and you don't even know who they are. You've never even met them because someone else hired them. If the owners aren't on the same page with everything and walking in lockstep, they don't know who to listen to. And it becomes animosity.
A house divided will not stand.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I love going to the bath company and nobody knows who I am.
Yeah.
Okay, it's Jeff. It's my first day.
Hey, we put
it's Hefe, bro. It's Hefe.
You gotta start putting a picture of you in there, onboarding.
Yeah.
Say,
no, don't.
It's actually very good.
I like just flying under the radar, and I'm like, man, boy, Alex really has you guys working hard, huh? Fuck that guy.
That's
what an
hilarious.
asshole.
It might be the next show is Undercover Boss.
Yeah.
I actually probably could do undercover boss at the bath company, at least in the warehouse part.
Yeah, production even too. Most of them probably don't know you.
Jeff just has just a mustache.
It's changed. It's really changed a lot.
I think it would be really interesting if you went on, like for some of the sales reps that have no idea who you are, you went on as like a new sales rep hire as you were riding along with them. That would be Super
would be
interesting.
fantastic,
I would,
actually.
I would love that.
It's like a new hire, and just tell AJ to shut his mouth.
Yeah, they'd give it right away when he does something stupid. And Jeff's like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
No, the hardest thing you'll ever do in a home improvement company is be in a lead on a sales sit and allow that sales rep to fail.
So hard.
Because they like start to mess up, and you're like,
It's you see money just floating away.
especially for a customer who truly wants what you have.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And they just, but part of being a great sales manager is
You have to
knowing-
replicate yourself, like you said.
You have to replicate yourself, but part of doing that is allowing them to fail.
Yep.
And burn the lead. And it's hard. It's very, very difficult. It was one of the hardest things I ever did as a sales manager.
money for that lead.
Yeah. And then you get, the worst, you get out to the car and they're like, man, I think
Killed
they're gonna,
it.
I think they're going to call me back.
Feeling pretty good about that one.
There's a 0.3% chance they're going to call you back.
But then you just have that conversation and you move forward.
Yeah. Yep. I don't know if you have any more questions for Parker. I've got one, but
Go for it.
So I've got one more question. This doesn't have to be the end of the episode, but I want to know, are you happy with how everything's turned out? So when we first started, as we played back the intros, either in this episode or part one of this episode, we know that, when you were coming on board, your eyes were a lot brighter than they are right now. And you looked a little less tired.
He's grizzled. He's grizzled now.
He's getting the gray hair.
And you came in, you still have a lot of motivation and ambition. I'm not saying that, don't take it the wrong way, but you came in, you're like, we're going to do this thing. I'm going to own a location. This is how it's going to be. You knew there could be some challenges ahead. With what you expected to happen and what actually happened, how are you dealing with that? Are you happy with that? Are you disappointed? Are you cool with it? Rolling with the punches? How do you feel about all this?
I think this plays in really well that you asked that question, because I was going to tell you, when you say happy with it, I would say yes, because I think I look at this more as a broad picture, bigger than me. David's a prime example. Are you happier than what you were going to college? Yes. Is Sean, happier where he's at owning a business at 20 years old than what he was doing paying 30 grand a year to go Iowa?
Yeah, Sean, his business partner dropped out of college.
So
largely due to what was going on in the show, right?
Cool. I have, yep. And I have two other buddies that are working on a business right now. I have, another guy that we actually used to beef like crazy in high school, and he was telling me, he's like, dude, ever since you and Sean started a business, he's like, I just like it's possible. And like all the, I think we accomplished with this show, and I think that was, the big reason we started it was to show everyone, you can do it.
Yeah, that was the reason. Yep.
There's 5 examples right there of we showed someone, they can probably do it if they want to. And so I think we've definitely accomplished, I'm more than happy with the path I took, I would say, for sure.
Wow. Jeff, this show was your idea. I mean, this brainchild of yours. Like, are you happy with the outcome with Parker and with maybe some of these other stories that have come out? Because that was your goal. Your goal was to show people like, hey, there's another way out there. Like the government, the society teaching you this, but there's a whole different way you can go.
Yeah, I think that I would say I'm like 49%, because I really wanted us to be in a position that Parker would be able to have his own. Like this episode, I really wanted it to be like, hey, have fun.
Here's
Austin.
the keys. Yeah.
But, ultimately, what I think Parker's learned is that a lot can change in a year. A lot can change in 2 years, right? You can one day be running a fake app company. And 2 years later, you can be, the president and CEO of a $12 million bath company.
Yeah. A real bath company.
It's not fake.
It's actually real.
They have bathtubs there. I've seen them.
You're welcome. And, so I guess I'm not personally 100% happy with the fact that we weren't able to get to a situation where he owned a TSR, but I'm 150% happy with the fact that as that situation was evolving, Parker's looking at it saying, okay, I still want to be a part of TSR. I'm still giving 110%, but I also know that I devote, whatever it is, 8 to 12 hours of my day to TSR, 4 or 5 days a week. And the remaining amount of my time, I'm going to spend building a side hustle. And for me, that's what makes it 100% happy, is that he didn't just sit on his ass and wait for that opportunity, like what we were talking about. He's like, no, I'm at least going to go try this curbing thing and make it happen. And I like the fact that I, no different than, even though my business partnership with Chris didn't end on, fantastic terms, one of the things that I will always appreciate about Chris is that I brought concrete coatings to him, and he did the same thing to me that I did to Parker, as I told him, that's not for me. And I let him go do it and figure it out on his own. So Chris didn't buy my first trailer, though.
So I don't have any more questions, and I always have questions, but this is the end. Not the end of that was really sad. This isn't the end, but it's a new chapter. We've wrapped up what we were studying, what we were following the story of Parker in this last year and a half. We've wrapped it up. This is it. The last video is in the can, as they say, and a lot of lives have been impacted by the show. Myself included, my brother David, Alex, Jeff, Parker, all of us in this room, and probably including Bianca, who's in the room as well.
Why don't you come here, B?
Yeah.
Which, by the way,
we got another young entrepreneur that gets to hear from all these people that have already struggled.
Here, you got to stand right here. Why don't you just go ahead and tell them what your TikTok handle is? Yeah.
No.
Is it Scrunchy Girl too?
No.
No? And she has her own YouTube channel.
No.
Aw, that's awesome.
She has her own, so, it'd be a lot of opportunity for young kids, right? That are, via social media. And it's funny when I listen to Jackson talk about when he's playing Fortnite, he's like, my friend in Ohio. Jackson has no idea where Ohio is.
Yeah, so. That's funny.
But it's cool that they're able to. Hopefully it's not like some 43-year-old dude. It's weird, but 50-year-old dude that's playing Fortnite with him. But I don't know. I guess I'm 35 and I play with him. So,
but you're not from Ohio. That's
no. But there's just there's so many opportunities, right? And what we proved is that you don't have to just make money by working a 9 to 5.
Correct.
You can make money working for somebody. So I think this show did multiple things. You can be successful without going to college. You can ultimately end up working for a company, making a great living, and that afforded you the ability to go out and do what you're doing now, right?
Right.
Yep. And so you can still hustle while also earning a living, and then eventually, if you get to the point where you're willing and able to, which by the way, how much sales do you have so far? How much volume?
We've sold 22,000, I think.
22,000. And you started when?
Started the journey 3 months ago. Started installing a month and a half, maybe.
Okay. And so my challenge to you, Parker, is that by December 31st, maybe in January, we can have a reunion meeting.
That'll be awesome.
Between now and then, you need to have 125,000 in sales.
Yep.
And March better be at least 50% booked.
I'm open to that.
Well, thank you all so much for being a part of this year and a half journey. I really hope, I know a lot of you were impacted by the show, and I hope more of you will be impacted in the future as you continue to watch. This content exists forever. You can continue to go back, listen, hear from these people who have already done it and want to save you the time and the headaches of having to learn the hard things on your own. We really, really, really appreciate you guys sticking with the journey. I'm sure Parker, I don't want to speak for you, but I'm sure that you're thankful to all your friends and family and the people who have supported you. I don't know if you want to shout anybody out on this last episode or not. I'll take that as a no. No, I'm
no,
kidding.
just everyone everyone knows who they've been along the journey. Jeff, Tyler, he's been more hands off, but Tyler is obviously, I think has been supporting me. No, him, Tyler.
You'd know if he wasn't.
Yeah, Jeff, Tyler, both my parents, my dad, he inspired me to do I think he won't admit it, but I'm the only, I would say, business savvy person in my family. My brother just wants to give away free everything. He doesn't, mathematically doesn't make the most sense sometimes, but no, I'd say my dad was a huge influence in my life. Anyone else that's been with me, Sean Omerston, my business partner, Sean Cap, he's been right there with me through everything. So, and other people that I missed out on, there's been a lot of people supporting me. So,
Yep.
So your last, my last parting words for you, Parker, is that one of the things that took me 15 years to understand is that you have to know who to surround yourself with. So luckily you have a great starting supporting cast. There's a lot of fake ones out there though. And there's a lot of people right now that you don't even know that see your posts, see this podcast, they're watching you and they're secretly hoping you fail. They're just wishing for you to fail. And they're also the same people that are going to be asking you for a job on your curbing company here soon. So you need to understand that not everybody standing next to you is for you. And I hope that you're able to weed them out a lot faster than I was able to. 2.5 years ago, I cut out a tremendous amount of people from my personal life.
Sure.
And I've grown exponentially as a person, and our businesses have grown fantastically. And it's made a huge difference in my life, surrounding myself with the right people.
Right.
And so you're gonna get there, bud. But just remember, don't just shout them out because they're standing next to you, because it doesn't mean that they want to see you succeed.
Yep.
Yeah. And folks, while this is the last episode of When I Grow Up in Parker's Journey, this is not the end of content that will be put out, I'm sure, from Jeff, from Alex, from myself, from Parker. There's still a lot of stuff to go down. I mean, Parker's really, although he grew up, he's really just starting. Alex is really just starting. I'm really just starting. Jeff
is retiring.
But thank you for helping us all start.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, for 15 years already in the business, I'm a dinosaur. And,
but you're helping you're helping younger people continue. You're not just going to the nursing home.
One of the most, and Alan probably doesn't watch our podcast because he has better things to do with his life, especially an episode of this long. So Alan Erskine actually, he owns Elanco in Kansas City, and one of the best pieces. It wasn't. I wouldn't even know if I would call it advice. It was really just him making fun of me. Is that I was at an event, and for whatever reason, when you're a young kid, you think that you can just chime in whenever you want. And I'm literally sitting at a table with many millionaires, multi times over, and I don't remember what it is I chimed in on. Maybe Alex or Alan will remember, because he's the one that smacked me down so hard. He goes, "I don't even know why you're talking, kid." He's like, "You don't have any skin in the game." He's like, "Shut your mouth."
Wow.
And I was like, "What is skin in the game?" And he's, and it was about becoming an owner. And it literally the next day I was trying to, there was the problem. I went to go find the solution, and the solution was, I've got to figure out how to get skin in the game. And so I worked out a deal with Chris and got my skin in the game. And the reason I brought that up is that in 2 weeks, Alan is flying his private jet to Eagle River to stay at our hotel, or at the Holiday House.
Holiday House! You're going to love it, Alan. You're going to love it. It's amazing.
Yeah. So that was like full circle for me. Like, fuck yeah.
That is friggin' sweet. And the Holiday House is arguably the most desirable location in all of the Northwoods. Anyway.
One of the most.
Yeah, one of the most, because now there's more lodges. But wrapping it up, I just want to say a huge thank you to all of you guys. Alex for calling me and saying, hey, Jeff wants us to produce a podcast tomorrow. Are you available? And I just said yes. And we are setting up the gear. And I'm like, who's the podcast for? He's like, I don't know, some kid named Parker. That is how this started.
Appreciate that, Alex.
Right? Really. So I think that was my maybe first or second time even meeting Jeff, shaking his hand. And then from me sitting where DJ David is sitting right now in the nest to, 3 episodes later, I'm like, Jeff, I'm sorry. Mark just told me he can't be here tonight. We're going to have to postpone the show. And you're like, nah, you can host it. I'm like, oh, okay. That was a tremendous opportunity. I found out that I really enjoy doing this. I didn't know that was going to be a thing, but this is a lot of fun. You guys have both, Alex. You guys don't know Alex that well maybe from the show, but
Mr. Kohler.
Yeah, Alex, Jeff have given myself and all the guys in this room so many great opportunities. I just want to shout you guys out and say thank you so much. It's been an amazing journey for myself as well, even being the host, getting to just sit at this table and hear from what you guys have done and be able to avoid a lot of those mistakes that you're looking at us like, please don't do that. And then when we do it, you're like, I told you not to do that. Please don't do it again. And that's really valuable. And they're also talking to you guys. You guys are sitting at this same table too. Whether you value it or not, take as much value as you possibly can. You'll get out from it what you put into it. This has been the final episode of When I Grow Up. Thank you all for joining us.